Did Cowboys miss on the Mike McCarthy hire? We all know about the Cowboys' struggles. I think they're 2-4 right now. Some locker room tension they were talking about. People were calling out the coaching staff saying they're unprepared. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how they're doing their jobs. Mike McCarthy came out and said, you guys got to be a man about it and just speak up. Basically saying, you got to tell me that to my face. So what's wrong with the Cowboys? Was this a bad hire? Was Mike McCarthy the wrong pick to coach this team? What do you think it is?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's the Dallas dysfunction and the bad hire. I mean, you look at Dallas, and we all can agree, on paper, they're one of the most talented teams in the league. They got players at almost every position. They have a really – and the thing is, the offense, before, Dak went down, the offense was really good. They have a really great receiving core. They have a great running back. They're a really good offense. The defense was just – not up to par, and I don't want to say because I'm a little off on. I don't know if he's the defensive coordinator. He's not. So I feel like it really should come down to the defensive coordinator, because that defense, with all that talent, has been failing Dallas for not just this year. Before he was even there last year, they've been underperforming in our division for the past 2-3 seasons. So I don't think this should just jump solely on him. They've been underperforming for almost Jason Garrett's whole career. So
the thing about it is
that they've digressed though from Jason Garrett's time. I think
so far,
this 6 games have been worse than any.
I think they're still
talented
as hell though.
And I think it just goes to show you. I mean, we all thought that Dak Prescott was super replaceable.
No, we didn't.
Dak
was,
Did we? I mean, I think a lot of people thought that. When I say we, I don't mean us at this.
To be fair, though, the quarterback is Andy Dalton. So I mean,
but Andy Dalton is arguably
the best backup quarterback
one
in the
of,
league.
if not the best backup in the league. But
he's not a backup.
He's in that.
Foles is a backup.
He's starting. So
he was a backup. What's wrong with you? He was a backup. Is
he starting or is he not starting?
No matter what. He's a top 3 backup in the league. So if there was anybody that was going to replace him,
he wasn't a starter.
He's starting now.
Yeah, because they benched the starter and put him in because he was the backup.
He came back against Atlanta.
Because he what was he at the beginning of the season?
That doesn't answer the
question. Answer the question. What was he at the beginning of the season?
It's different. I'm not going to get into this argument because Nick Foles has a winning record with Chicago, something Carson Wentz doesn't have with Philadelphia.
That has nothing to do with him being a backup.
This is the bottom line. A lot of people thought that Dallas's offense, they were going to be okay. Their defense would have still been bad. Their offense would have been okay because Andy Dalton is one of the best backups in the NFL. Rude awakening.
Clearly,
Dak Prescott can't be replaced. He's not Carson Wentz when Nick Foles could take a spot and take him to the Super Bowl and win. He's not that. Carson Wentz, he's replaceable. Dak Prescott is not replaceable. He's a great leader. He's a great quarterback. But the problem with the Cowboys is that they are handing out too many bad contracts player after player.
Well, we knew that before. I think we knew that before this injury.
But look at this. DeMarcus Lawrence, $21 million through 2024. He's getting that a year. DeMarcus Lawrence isn't a game-breaking, game-changing player. He's not. He had one great season.
He was before he got paid.
I was hesitant.
That was 1 year.
That's the problem.
I was hesitant to give Jamal Adams $20 million. Jamal Adams is a game-breaking type player.
I would have never gave that to DeMarcus Lawrence, but then you have Amari Cooper. He's getting $20 million a year. He's a great wide receiver, but he's not a top 5 wide receiver.
Especially when you have Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. You don't need to be
and
paying
Cedric
Amari
Wilson.
I don't think they thought they were going to get. I don't think they thought CD was going to land where they got him at though.
But there were so many good receivers in that draft that they could have replaced him, even if it took trading up.
But they got to I feel like CD. I get the class was great, but I feel like CD was like a game changer receiver.
I guess they could have had Justin Jefferson too.
Even if they wanted to trade up, they could have made a run for Jerry Jeudy. They could have gotten.
That's true.
But even without that, they could have. If they didn't want to draft CD, they could have drafted Justin Jefferson, Laviska Shenault, Chase
People
Claypool.
didn't even believe in Justin Jefferson though.
But look at this: Ezekiel Elliott, $15 million through 2027. He's getting that yearly. Mm-hmm. You don't pay a running back that money. Then Jalen Smith, he's getting paid $11 million.
He got paid and sucked after
These players are not outside of Zeke. And running backs, I would never pay them that type of money. These are not game-changing players. But the real problem is their defense. Mike Nolan is their defensive coordinator, and this year he's 27th in yards allowed and 32nd in points. This is just his history throughout where he's been. Last time he was defensive coordinator was from 2012 to 2014 with Atlanta. In 2014, he was 32nd in yards, 27th in points. 2013, he was 27th and 27th. He was 27th in both yards and points allowed. In 2012, he was 24th in yards allowed, but only 5th in points allowed. So that year, their defense kind of had some luck, and they didn't let teams score in the red zone. Mm-hmm. But Dallas is in a position where they can't get their team better, and they have this cloud over their heads whether they want to pay Dak Prescott or not. But frankly, they can't really pay Dak because they're paying these guys this much money. See, in my opinion, I would have not paid Jalen Smith. I would have not paid Zeke. I would have not paid Amari, and I would have just focused on getting Dak his money and then surrounding the team around Dak.
Because with a great offensive line, they have arguably one of the top 5 offensive lines in the league.
And they're injured right now.
And to be fair, though, Zeke got paid because of what he did before, and he was very dominant.
Yeah, but even so, like, I don't even know if I would pay a Christian McCaffrey that much money. And he is, in my opinion,
he did get paid that, and Mike Davis stepped in, and not only did he have great fantasy production, but the Carolina went 3-0.
Yeah, I just think the running backs right now are arguably the most replaceable position on the field. You could find talent at running back almost anywhere. Late rounds of the draft, free agency, like there is good running backs all around the league. It all depends on what you do with them.
Right.
And you look at the Cowboys, they would have, assuming they find a way to get one of those top receivers, even if it ends up being Justin Jefferson, you would have Michael Gallup already, who has progressed to become a very good wide receiver and a great young receiver, and one of those guys, Dak Prescott, who I think a lot of people underrate what Dak Prescott is. I think that I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. And at the end of the day, I don't think that they've been wise with their money. It's shoehorned them in this position, and they compounded it. They doubled down by hiring a guy like Mike McCarthy, who he was a name. He did great things with the Packers, but he hasn't adjusted to the league. And I feel like the Cowboys didn't want to go for an outside-of-the-box hire because they didn't want to take the risk of that failing. They wanted to go for the established name in Mike McCarthy, but there's a reason that he was out in Green Bay. He never adjusted to what the NFL is becoming, and clearly he hasn't adjusted now. I feel like what does my say matter if you have 2 players, not just one, but 2 anonymous Cowboys players saying that their entire coaching staff is totally unprepared. They don't teach. They don't have any sense of adjusting on the fly, and another says they just aren't good at their jobs.
But see,
that's 2 players in the locker room. I
wonder who said it.
My problem with that is that's weak for them to say that. Like
I
6
agree.
weeks into the year.
I agree.
But also, this is what I think. I'm gonna just go back to this Zeke thing real quick. I love Tony Pollard. I'm not saying Tony Pollard would have been Zeke, but if you bring in another running back, they could have probably matched that same production between the 3 of them. That's why I wouldn't have paid Zeke. Tony Pollard, I think last year he flashed more than Zeke. When I would watch Cowboy games, I would look at Tony Pollard and be like, wow, who's that? That's a really good player right there. But back to this Mike McCarthy point, I don't think this is on him. When you watch the game and you watch the film, these guys are legitimately messing up their assignments. Corners not going in contain, right? Then you have Jalen Smith missing tackles and not knowing where to be on defense. This is on them.
But I think that also has to do with coaching. If your team isn't prepared and doesn't go out and run the plays correctly, to an extent, that's the player's fault. But I think that discipline comes from great coaching, which I don't think that they have.
The thing about the Cowboys is that, I mean, there are a lot of players that used to play for Mike McCarthy that vouch for him. I think Mike Nolan was definitely the wrong hire at defensive coordinator. He shouldn't have been on the staff. But I think Mike McCarthy, I'm not ready to be like he's worse than Jason Garrett.
Let's not forget that Peyton Manning also vouched for Adam Gase, and we see how that turned out. I think sometimes
there's a difference, though. Adam Gase, we know he's nothing. With Mike McCarthy, we know he's a Super Bowl winning head coach, and he has a track record.
But that was a decade ago.
No, but he has a track record. He has a track record in San Francisco. He has a track record developing quarterbacks. Like he does have a track record.
But I think just hasn't adapted.
But we all knew the Cowboys' defense just wasn't going to be good this year. Their secondary is awful. It doesn't. They have a bunch of big names, but none of them are really game-changing players.
They have a lot of talent.
It's just pretty amazing for me that a team with this much talent could come out and be consistently poor week to week, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
They like discipline.
And discipline comes from coaching. Mm-hmm. It's one of the biggest problems that the Jets have, and I think that is a reflection on the coaching staff is there's no discipline in the play. You're not going to see that with the Seahawks. You're not going to see that with the Buccaneers, a team with a great coach. The Patriots will never be undisciplined because Bill Belichick will not let his team be undisciplined.
I'll be honest. At a
And
certain
Tom
point,
Brady wouldn't let his team be undisciplined.
Exactly.
At a certain point, it's not even that, because when you talk about coaching and discipline, I think that goes more for teams that have a young team. These are players that are Pro Bowlers. Jalen Smith, Zeke, Cooper, guys on the defensive side, Everson Griffin, Alden Smith, Dantari Poe. These are Leighton Vander Esch. These are guys that have been Pro Bowlers. And I think at some point you just have to be a professional about your job and know what to do already.
Well, to argue professionalism is a totally different argument because it wasn't professional at all to go to, Jane Slater. I believe it was Jane Slater with the tweet. Jane Slater, and basically publicly bash your entire coaching staff. Like, that throws professionalism out the window.
They did the same thing with Jason Garrett.
But
You can't forget
also,
about that.
you would never see a good head coach go out and be bashed in the media. Like, you'll never see Harbaugh or Kyle Shanahan.
It happened to Mike
or-
Tomlin before.
When was
In
that?
Pittsburgh. The year that they had the drama with Le'Veon Bell when he didn't show
I
up.
don't think it.
I think a lot more people blame
Belichick.
Le'Veon for that situation than anything.
No, yeah, I know, but I'm saying that coaches, even great coaches, have gotten bashed, have gotten reports written about them.
I just feel
I'm
like
not saying like McCarthy's in that category, but I think it's way too early, and especially when you're in a team that you didn't pick your players, you're totally new. These players are still adjusting, and when you're talking about players that are getting $20 million or $10+ million a year, they don't really care about what you have to say.
And that's not good.
They've already proven that they don't. It doesn't matter who's the coach, whether it's Jason Garrett or Mike McCarthy. They were underperforming their contracts regardless.
I wasn't high on the Mike McCarthy hire originally. I didn't want him for the Jets job as a Jet fan. I feel like he has not adapted to the current NFL. I don't place the blame fully on him, but I do think they missed on the hire. I think that they could easily be running away with the division if they had made a better head coaching hire. And I don't know who that guy is, but I think if they hit on the hire, they would be running away with the division because the division is so bad. The fact that they are still in the mix, like the fact that they have not run away with that division is embarrassing for everybody in the building. Not just Mike McCarthy, not just the players, for everybody top to bottom. That is an embarrassment because they are on paper far and away the most talented team in the division.
Yeah, you don't really have any quarterback in that division that can really lead a team like that. So they should be first if we're being honest. Even if it's Dalton, it would be good.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with
hold
quarterback play because even with Andy Dalton, they should be the best team in the division because of everything else. Like, they are by far more talented than anybody in that. The Giants and the Redskins shouldn't even be in the conversation.
Washington is still in the conversation.
And the fact that they are is because the Eagles and Cowboys have done nothing.
And it's funny that you mentioned Washington because I think Washington is just a trade away from a playmaker and maybe some better quarterback play from actually taking the division.
They're getting there, and I don't think that
Their
they're
defense.
as far
I think
away
their
as people
defense.
think.
Their defense is solid. It's just about getting another playmaker next to McLaurin and getting a quarterback that's not going to make mistakes the same way Kyle Allen does.
And obviously they don't have that quarterback right now. But the problem is that they've been going through project quarterbacks, and I don't know if they're in a position to be going through a project quarterback right now.